is these plates that have that ridge right there in the middle. The plates are period. That ridge is not period. We can't find documentation for that ridge. I like the ridge because it helps make this stronger, and I don't want to get hit by big old boys with big old axes and have it not be as strong. My greaves were made, my case greaves were made by Ilya. How many of y'all have seen Man at Arms on YouTube through BKS Sword? Ilya made my knees, or their case greaves. These were found in a con grave, and the Mongol the Mongol tribe was a mobile tribe, and they took everything that was usable with them. So they did not leave usable armor buried. We have 7 helms. This is my helmet here. We have 7 exonant helms available to us. That's it. 7 styles of helmets have been found for this time period. The Eastern European armor. This one is actually not as exactly period as it could be. This needs to have ridges, or what we call fluting, and mine does not. And there's something that the Authenticity Committee does not like about my ocular. For some reason, how my armorer did the tears or the openings through the eyes, they don't like it. I had 3 months to get my helmet together. I could get that helmet in 3 months. That's what I got, because when women were allowed to fight, we were given 3 months time frame. Yeah, you can see how Larry's is very ornate, and it's got the fluting at the top. This is what they call, all the boys call it the Pretty Princess helm. But it is a beautiful helm, and I would, when I change to I'm going to change this kit this year, I'm going to go something more along that lines. The drawback to Mongol, Rus, that kind of kit, see how little these eye openings are? I get into fighting, I've got no peripheral vision. And so that's the problem. Yeah. Anyway, shut up. I normally, with this kit, I also have a skirt. It's got hip panels. The panels are, let me take my gauntlets. There we go. They're hip panels about this wide, made out of this. Oh, well, I guess about that wide across. And I have one here, one here, one here, one here, and then I have a smaller, shorter one that covers my tailbone. Mongols were a horse tribe. They rode usually on horseback. And when you were sitting on horseback, those panels protected your legs from arrows. But as I said, these legs and these vaz bands are made out of spring steel, and they were found in a con grave with a helm similar to mine, but not exactly. So I cannot technically exactly put all this entire kit together realistically. I mean, theoretically, yes, all of this would fit together. We don't have any proof because the Mongols also did not bury their dead in effigies. All of the Western European armor has effigies that they can go to. They can go to graves, and armor's been carved out of stone. And I was getting to that. Okay. They are when a higher up knight died, they buried him in his armor in a casket, I guess, or a crypt, and then they would have somebody carve what he looked like. And sometimes it would be the exact look of his armor. Sometimes they would give him little flourishes on that armor, but that's how the Western European guys can document most of their kit, because they have the effigies, or in most cases they have the armor in museums. For the Mongols and that side, we have very little. So unless it's much later period.
Additional to that, one great resource for effigies is effigiesandbrasses.com. They have a lot of great actual European extant pieces for you to look at. That's where we do lots of our research to determine which pieces we want to make, what goes with what time period, so that we try to stay as accurate as possible. Are there any questions about helmets or Amy's armor here before we move on into gauntlets? Yes, sir.
So because you have ridges on your chest piece and lack of ridges on your helmet, can you be disqualified?
No. What they will do, and what they have told me with my helmet, is you have 2 years to replace that helmet.
Oh.
Because they realize that it is a significant monetary investment. My helmet was $750, and so just for my helmet, my gauntlets were $1,100. So my legs and my arms were custom made for me. Everybody breaks their arm, they get a cast. They made casts of my legs and my arms to make these because I have unusually large ones for women. The ridges there don't really matter. It's just that I can't prove that particular plate. They don't want me to prove the way it's built and the theory behind it, that it's a lamellar breastplate. That, no problem. It's the actual plate itself I cannot document saying, hey, we found one of these plates buried somewhere. So that's what they cannot prove.
The plates, of course, just not the plates with ridges.
Right.
Yes.
Sweet, I'm going to go out in a colander.
He also had a hat. Is that like part of protection or just make it go on better?
It makes him look good too. But the that does a couple of things. It helps to absorb some of the sweat, keeps his hair from coming down into his eyes, and it does work as kind of a friction allowance between. When you have that extra piece of cloth, you can turn your head, and the head will move inside the helmet a bit. Even though it's strapped in there pretty good, you will get a little bit of extra movement of your head inside the helmet. Like he was talking about, pulling your head down, pushing your shoulders up to allow the shoulders to take some more of that impact. That hat covering is very, very common to the Middle Ages. Anything from, gosh, probably 800 or 900 back in the Dark Ages, all the way up.
Mine, I have one in it, but mine's sewn inside. So because I look retarded wearing one of those things. I've tried them and it just doesn't work. But I sewed mine inside so that I don't have to worry about that.
Other questions before we move on to gauntlets? Yes, sir.
So I was curious, how did you pick which, like you picked to make a Mongol suit of armor? How did you pick that versus, these guys pick very
I am claustrophobic. That, well, more along the lines of theirs or Ulrich's, terrify me. I cannot be encased in steel and feel like I can do this, or I can do this. I mean, I can do yoga in this armor, literally. It just terrifies me to be encased in metal. It takes me a good 5 minutes to get used to my helmet so that I don't have a panic attack every single fight. So I put my helmet on for about 5 minutes, breathe, and just go. But that's part of the reason I picked this, because it moves with me. It does not restrict me. And one of the things, you already have opponents on the field. You don't want to fight your armor too.
Makes sense.
I picked my suit because of a combination of things. One, what I thought looked good, what I thought was going to be functional on the field when I'm actually competing. So I want to pick my armor for the sport that we're doing. If I were doing something dressier, I might pick something very different. Additional to that, I wanted to pick things that were a little bit within and slightly above my skill level, so I could learn to do some new armor work. In fact, I've made most of the armor that you're seeing that I'll be wearing. But I didn't want to do something like that with the full body fluting, because that at the current time is outside my skill area. I think it looks a little weird too. Rich, why did you pick the armor you picked?
It's sexy.
We all like to look good.
Yes, sir.
I noticed none of you have any protection on your feet. Is that by design or historical or just convenience?
There's a combination of that. For most of it, it's convenient. While in our type of sport, we are allowed to hit the foot, we're all friends. And sabatons suck to wear. And if you intentionally hit me in the toe, you're getting shanked when we go out drinking.
For me, I can't wear them. I can't document them.
Are you getting stomped on the foot?
In the melee situations, yes, that happens sometimes. But in the melee situations, more folks are wearing them. Because what we're going to be doing is individual combat today. We're not as concerned about protecting our feet. Do you have sabatons on your gear today?
Trey does, but I think he took those out.
Yeah. But Alec wanted to answer the question about picking armor.
So picking the armor. My first year out, I actually went with a 1500 Gothic German plate. I thought it looked good. I had some pieces already that were made along those lines, and I thought it would work out well for me. I found that it was actually, for me, very cumbersome. It's important that the armor is made well and for you, and you have to get in it and fight in it before it's tournament time. It was delivered to me a week before we went to France. So I found out that, and so it just didn't work for me. So I'd sunk money into that, and I decided I needed something different. Looked at the Corazina design. It's actually something I could do myself. So hammered the plates out, worked with some friends of mine, got them tempered and heat treated, and put it together myself. So that's why I moved up, and then chose to go with the splints. Again, a little bit of weight reduction, especially flying overseas. You don't want to pay for 2 million bags.
Yeah.
You don't.
And one thing too, Sim can do this. He can go in and he can repair all the metal, all of that kind of stuff on his kit. I chose this because it's very easy for me to repair. I do not have any armoring skills at all. That's why a lot of my stuff is made for me. But I don't have time to do that, and I don't have the shop to do that. But I can lace lamellar and make it easy that way. And so it's repair too. All of us have to maintain our own kits.
So from a financial standpoint, my kit with the helmet and the gauntlets runs about $1,000, and that's with me making the majority of it. The average kit that you can buy from an armorer that makes armor today is about $1,500, and that's for a very basic, simple kit. For an advanced kit like Sim's, you're probably going to pay about $2,000.
Mine was up there because I have custom pieces made, and I paid about $3,500.
The helmets made by Ilia by themselves are well over $1,000
Yeah.
each, but they're worth it. One more question before we move on to the gauntlets. Yes, sir.
I was curious about the circles at several, but not all of you have the elbows.
It's sticking now.
The rondelles.
These rondelles, these work extremely well at turning a blow away from you. If you can see the inside of this elbow, it's curved to match the shape of my elbow. But this, if someone were to hit it, like hitting Alric's helmet, would cause a skip forward into one of these gaps. These rondelles, while in my case, don't extend past the cop very much, in this case here, they extend past the edge of the cop about that far. In Rich's case, about 2.5 inches further. They're additional protection for the elbow, and you'll see that develop into larger pieces from the rondelle into what we call the spade or the fan. And then from that, all the way up into a really large elbow, about the size of a shield that was used heavily in the 16th century, late 15th century for jousting.
But you can also use them there.
Yes.
And I use one on the back of my helmet just because I want to protect my spine a little bit more. In order for me to submit this to the Authenticity Committee, I had to remove this for the pictures because it's not period for me at all anywhere. But I chose to wear it to honor my coach. So.
And so talk about gauntlets. We have a couple of different examples here. This, what does this look like to y'all? Oven mitt? It's not too different from that, actually. This is an example that is very accurate to the early and mid 13th century Europe, especially Northern Europe, near the Netherlands. This is very similar to the Wisby dig type of armors. They have extremely small plates. When we look here at the side, each one of these rivets hold on an individual small plate. This allows for great range of motion, very light equipment here. It does decrease the dexterity on the inside for the fingers a bit, but this is a very inexpensive gauntlet to produce if you were going to make it yourself. Doesn't require a lot of skill, doesn't require a lot of large plates. You can hammer nails into most of these smaller plates for shape. In the modern world, these are very inexpensive as well. They're a good entry-level gauntlet, and they protect you extremely well. There's already padding built inside of these. Okay. Thank you. The next style here, this is a bit of an anachronism, though there is one example of these style gauntlets that have the fake finger plates here.